I don't know why Galvatron continues to listen to the Quintessons. What do we have here? It appears the Predacons have found an intruder. Quite admirable, aren't they? Decepticons, let us get a better view of the Predacons at their best. For coming here, I'm going to tear you from limb to limb, Autobot. My guidance system is hit. What madness is this? It seems our task for the day is ended. No, blast those accursed five-faced slime. Mighty One, why did you? No, it cannot be. A female Decepticon? Must be an Autobot trick. No. Weaklings. Wimps. Letting Primer beat you.
Megatron.
Yes, Primary. You know this female? Yes, Scourge.
Can't be calling this planet your home.
Welcome to Char.
Then I don't need to ask you how the war's going.
This home is only temporary.
I can see that. Extremely temporary. You have more troops than I remember.
The Predacons are a quite valuable addition to the Decepticon cause. Insignificant warriors. Cursed Quintessons. Predacons, get your miserable weak-willed hides out of my sight. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I could use a little energon.
Cyclonus, have the Constructicons properly repaired, and make sure they do not fail me at this. Yes, my lord.
Huh, where am I? Cyclonus, is it?
Yes, this is the planet Char.
Oh, wow. I had this nightmare. The Decepticons were scraping together their existence.
Things have really changed since you left Cybertron. How do you feel?
I was weak, but you refueled me. I hadn't realized the state of desperation you all had succumbed to.
That won't be necessary. I'll be back once you've recovered. Galvatron has unsurprisingly made you a prize.
You followed me here? Well, I heard a rumor about a sharpshooting female Decepticon that knocked the bolts out of the Predacons.
She had assistance. Yes. Yeah, Galvatron intervened. Besides, if we hadn't traded duties, it would be you in the repair bay instead of us. We could have taken her. Yes. Would you two knock it off?
What do you think, Artfire? The imbeciles? They're males, like I said.
I thought Shockwave ran you off. Huh. Did you come back looking for Blitzwing?
No, but since you mentioned it.
Now I notice where Blitzwing is.
What do you mean?
Galvatron put a bounty on his head.
A bounty on Blitzwing.
That is between Blitzwing and our Lord. Come, Primary. Galvatron awaits you. Ah, Primary, you are much more presentable.
You have a throne, but not a decent repair bay. In the days of Megatron, it was not like this.
Why, Cyclonus and I were just discussing improvements for Char. Really? Yeah. I was just suggesting a planet where we could acquire our supplies. Primary, your battling techniques were a bit relaxed on the Predacons. They are comrades. Nonsense. You are their superior.
Then what's with your shadow?
Loyalty, Primary. Unlike you leaving Cybertron without even informing me.
Me? What about you? Scavenger was assisting me with the reconnaissance just outside Iacon when I heard your ship departing.
I couldn't let Optimus Prime escape, now could I?
Well, I don't see his head as a trophy anywhere.
I deactivated him myself, but he was resurrected a few years later.
Why did you put me on the spot like that?
Like what?
Your warriors are starving, and their shadow presents me with an energon cube.
You have special priority. Why don't we have a proper repair bay? Mighty Galvatron, we do not have the resources.
They are clearly lacking the proper motivation. Come with me.
Where will you be taking us?
I'm going to fulfill your need.
My needs? Yes, the Decepticons' needs. Why couldn't we have flown here instead of wasting our precious energy with these primitive Autobot traveling techniques?
The crumbling territory looks the same from above, and I didn't want to miss it.
Miss what?
Galvatron, fire over there.
Cyclonus, why don't you get down there and assist her? What idiot would put a control panel in the floor? If what was stored here wasn't so precious, why would they have placed this backup control panel in a place even Skywarp 2 could find it? Cyclonus. Cyclonus. Yes, mighty one. Here, Energon, we will take some.
Don't. See, you don't need brute force for everything.
Primary, how did you know? What was this planet?
It was a militaria colony used for peace conferences.
With such an arsenal at their disposal, how did the planet's inhabitants not survive?
We were once a grand academy. Space cruisers that resembled twisted metal attacked. We weren't aware of any possible hostilities.
You lived here.
Not far from where the Predacons were testing my abilities. You missed a spot.
What's this? How dare you?
It doesn't matter. He did not survive the attack. I did not know anyone who did.
How were you able to survive the slaughter?
Because, Galvatron, I am also an Autocon, and I can fly.
During the Great War, Primary took on a giant Guardian by herself. Blasted him. The Decepticons had never seen such marksmanship before. We all scrambled to escape the giant's collapsing body. Megatron was extremely pleased with his female warrior, and even more pleased with the assurance that success was merely a city's collapse away. But the Deceptibots and Autocons are fakes, bootlegs. Her people were the originals from which they were copied from. They're the military equivalent of the Paradrons, apparently. We will attack the Autobots, who will become fully aware of our strength returning, despite Scourge's double-crossing me. Soon we will be able to blow the bolts out of them. With Primary returning to the fold, the Autobots' destruction is assured. Careful, Cyclonus. I am more than willing to replace you with Primary. Speaking of usurpers, it was unfair of Scourge's system to shut down in the middle of our discussion about who is the one true leader of the Decepticons. Mighty One, I could check on his repairs. Nonsense. Scourge wasn't done begging for his life. Why don't you go and see what's keeping Primary? Did you find what you were searching for?
My efforts were futile. It's taken all my strength to build the courage to return, and what I seek isn't even here.
Futile? We are basking in sinister elation. Since revealing a fuel source, inspiring Galvatron provided his Decepticons with a proper base of operations, and retrieving a gently used power generator the Autobots had mysteriously launched into space, the Decepticons are growing bolder. The Decepticon Empire is mightier now than it was before you had arrived.
You were certainly a better soldier than either Shockwave or Soundwave ever were. They had nothing but contempt for me.
Cyclonus. What is it, Scourge? Galvatron is waiting.
You go on. I have to go find Blitzwing. Are your knees making that noise? Don't worry. Just have Cyclonus tell him. Perhaps we'll just walk back.
I know where you can find him. Do tell. Here's the missing file. We'll just make it on time. Aren't you two running a little late for the conference? Optimus had been going over the research. Bumblebee and I finally got it reorganized. A female Decepticon? We found her snooping around Blitzwing's old quarters. What do you suggest we do with her? Magnus, are you malfunctioning? You know this Decepticon? The humans would describe her as my wife. She's your what? Ultra Magnus, what is your status? Bumblebee and I will be there in 5 astro minutes. I'll deal with you later. Springer, after you and Cup put the files back in order, bring them to the conference. We need to get moving. What's going on up here? Galvatron? Primary? Oh, why don't you ask Ultra Magnus? Primary, why are you making those bizarre expressions at me?
I stole and ate some Autobot energon.
Not like the formula Octane Brew.
How did you find me?
I had Ratbat as my guide. He'd reported that you had been captured. What are you doing with the Autobots? Surely you're not switching sides.
No. If you hadn't excommunicated Blitzwing, then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Your Blitzwing is a traitor. He needs to be unmercilessly punished for what he did to me.
What is it that he did to you? Why won't anyone tell me?
Come back to base with me and I will tell you.
Why don't you go back to base, and I'll contact you later.
What?
Do you trust me? With everything I ever was to Megatron, do you trust me?
Oh, all right. Galvatron, we will remain at the dig site, but not encroach any further. And I will not have my armies destroy you for trespassing on Char. For now. Mm-hmm.
Time to face the jury. Sorry for ruining our conference.
No need to apologize. You did a much better job of discouraging Galvatron than we did. Let's get this mess cleaned up. Gee, thanks. Ultra Magnus, why don't you take the rest of the night off so that you can clean the grit out of your fuel? And next time, let me be the party coordinator. You managed to answer at least 2 of my questions. Which are? You must have been the one that allowed the Decepticons to become aware of the underground storage unit on the military base, which would explain why the Decepticons are stronger than they have been.
And question number 2.
How was it that you were able to escape the military base? How come I've never seen you fly before? And why did you not tell me about this?
Blitzwing and I had these long before the Decepticons laid claim to them.
You just answered another question. Why were you here? And why Blitzwing's old base?
Blitzwing and I go way back. It was he who disguised my engraved insignia. We were short on time, otherwise he would have replaced my entire chest panel.
It was a matter of urgency. Before I met you, it's forgiven.
Gonna show me the command center of your little expedition?
And to my command center. What I saw out there with Galvatron troubles me still. I now realize I was hasty in my judgment, allowing you in the command center unguarded.
I realize how skeptical this must make you feel.
Skeptical? Your tactics lacked sophistication. But Galvatron departed without any further confrontation. Are you a Decepticon?
At one time, I might have been considered one, but that was long ago.
Why do you bear their symbol?
I was on Militaria looking for our medallion. I wasn't aware the Decepticons were living there until the Predacons attacked me. The scuffle and revealed the symbol. I've been living with it hidden for so long that it wasn't until your fellow Autobots discovered me that I was reminded of its existence.
You couldn't have waited a moment more. I still did not comprehend Galvatron just leaving.
Think of it more like... No, Octane would be an extremely bad example.
What is your arrangement with them?
I have no current arrangements with them. If your inquiry is whether I violated our sacred companionship since you and I have been separated, the answer is no. I've merely been buying my time with them.
Why were you at Blitzwing's quarters?
Blitzwing, Alpha Trion, and I knew each other from before the war broke out.
Which war? The war? I had not realized, but Blitzwing is a newer model. He can transform.
Alpha Trion rebuilt him after he was severely injured in a confrontation with a Guardian robot. I was there for days hoping he would recover. Blitzwing and I have been through a lot together. It wasn't until Alpha Trion began to be overloaded with injured Autobots that he came up with the idea to completely rebuild and give the new robots the ability to transform.
And so a new generation of warriors was born.
Yes, Alpha Trion suggested changing allegiances, but I already had a reputation that ensured that I would stay in the relative safety of the Decepticon army. Once Megatron had left Cybertron, the little sense of security dissipated shortly after, and I found myself on Alpha Trion's doorstep once again. He helped me to hide my past, and told me of a planet where a group of robots had set up a peaceful existence.
Paradron or Antenna? Well, if you want Hoist to fix the chest plate, he could.
Can he really do that?
Hoist can fix anything. Now, as far as you misrepresenting yourself.
You're right, I did. It's been a long time since you did that.
Too long. It was a good thing you were running late that fateful day. I still cannot figure out why the Quintessons destroyed Militaria. Is that what they're called? If I had been aware of your history back then, things may have turned out differently. But instead, you were fraudulent. I am an Autobot first and foremost, and I'll take your fraudulence into consideration. Your colleagues are thieves and murderers. Why do you continue to associate with them when you claim you are no longer one of them?
I unintentionally fell back into it. I did not know Militaria had become their home. I must say in my defense that I didn't have the need to find Blitzwing. I wouldn't be sitting here in your quarters right now. No one would tell me what happened between Blitzwing and Galvatron and...
He drew his weapon on Galvatron. Ouch.
Wait a minute. Didn't Optimus Prime come back and grant you the time off? At least I don't have to face him.
Spike, the human from Earth, was there. Blitzwing. The Quintessons escaped, but Galvatron wasn't willing to admit defeat. Galvatron's hunger for power was his disadvantage. We gained the upper hand when Blitzwing encouraged Galvatron to bury it. I am still troubled. Cannot release the image of the way you handled Galvatron out there.
I know it looks peculiar. I didn't even have a clue how I was going to handle it. If I had my weapon, things might have turned out differently.
That leaves us with only one option. I am no longer headmaster on Militaria. We are at war. I realize there is much to be resolved between us. And we will. I'll track down Blitzwing by tomorrow and have him meet you at the repair bay. It's good to be home. You are welcome to use my recharging chamber. I'll be across the corridor. Thanks. All passengers and equipment are secured. So you two are just going to separate? You don't think a few centuries was long enough? Have you ever seen a female Decepticon, Cup? There was one, but being seen by her was to be avoided. How do you mean? It was a death sentence being an Autobot. No one has ever seen this assassin and lived to tell about it. I remember the fallen Autobots. Every one of them with a single blast to their life force. Oh, come on, Cop. One shot? What are you all yammering about? Shooting accuracy. All duties must be completed before we launch. Ultra Magnus, are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. This is the only damage I can find, otherwise it all checks out. What's eating you? We're behind schedule. I'd never seen you like this before. Yesterday was an ordinary day. It only left me with bigger questions. A lot has happened in the few centuries you've been separated. That's just it, Cup. But I wasn't willing to accept her still associating with the enemy after her time away from Cybertron. It does put some glitches in the central processor. Primary proved yesterday that she no longer participates in that lifestyle. Her negotiating with Galvatron? No, we're not destroying you and Springer. Primary was caught off guard. By what I know of Primary, that wouldn't have mattered. I know her well enough to know that her life as a Decepticon was buried with Megatron. Then why send her away? That's a question I haven't been able to truthfully answer. Primary, how accurate is her shooting?
Oh, aye, Optimus, sir.
Yeah, leave it, son. If she's going to be living up on us, I'd like to know. 100% Prime. Oh, Cup. What is it? Ever since Primary showed up, I feel the Matrix has been trying to tell me something. Something good or something bad? I'm not quite sure. If it helps you feel at ease, I don't think she's a threat to us. No, that's not it. I'll let you know if the mood strikes me. Well, we brought in Blitzwing, so let's let them talk. Very well, Autobots. Dismissed. If it wasn't for that asteroid shower, we'd be just shy of the solar system near Cybertron.
I didn't realize how much we'd have to go out of our way to avoid it. Thanks for coming with me.
Just as long as Octane doesn't join us, don't worry about it. I will worry about it. The Autobots still don't have your weapon. Now there's no reason to worry.
What happened to the warrior you used to be? Did that get accidentally lost along with part of your memory when you were rebuilt?
Speaking of rebuilt, Hoist did a first-rate job at replacing her chest hole and makes her look not a day over 6 million. You flirt. I'm going to go in order. Why don't you find us some seats, Primary? What do you want? Galvatron requests your presence. Scourge! I ordered you to contact me as soon as she was found. What happened to her? I had to stun her. She's going to resist. You better hope that Galvatron doesn't notice the marks on her that match the one on your weapon. Oh, what happened to Primary? Primary, she wouldn't come willingly. I had to stun her. Mighty Galvatron, wait. Well, who gave you the authority to overstep my orders? She had to. Primary resisted. I trusted that you at least would not fail me. Disobey me ever again, and you will not be so lucky. It won't happen again, Mighty Galvatron. Are you sure you only stunned her? Gather her up and take her to the repair bay on the ship. Yes, Mighty Galvatron. What is it, Artfire and Artemis?
I am prepared to prove myself, mighty one.
Go away, Artfire, I'm busy.
We've been idle for weeks. My lord, now's the right time to send those disgusting Autobots to the big junkyard in the sky.
Now is not the time to strike. We need to wait for Ratbat's report.
Time for hesitation is over, sir.
Mighty Galvatron is right. We need to find out what the Autobots have accomplished in our absence, so we can better prepare ourselves for the slaughter.
I'm still a neutral. That's why I'm here. Perhaps we can beat the information we need out of primary, my lord.
No, primary's not to be harmed, or the Quintessons won't hold up their end of the bargain.
You're relying on the Quintessons to keep their word? The others are right. The Decepticons lack a proper leader.
This is the only warning I'm going to give, Artemis. Or shall I blast you like I did last month and finish the job?
You obviously don't realize who our creators are. I woke up, the alarms were sounding, and the cruiser was attacked. What's going on?
Are you all right?
Yeah, but I seem to be missing an hour of time. What happened?
I spotted Zaglonis where I was waiting in line. Apparently he and Galvatron don't share the same opinion.
Ship crashed back on the planet. Where's everybody?
I saw them all huddling on the far side of the ship.
All of them. Does Galvatron know you're here?
I don't think anybody does, except Cyclonus. I haven't come across anyone since I've been here.
Well, my sensors are tingling.
After effects of Scourge stunning you. No. Oh, slag. Is your mental processor malfunctioning? I wish it were. What is going on?
Looks like someone ripped the life force out of him. We can at least provide an internment.
You still harbor feelings for him.
We've got quite a history together.
You and Megatron, remember. This is the lunatic version. Yeah. Megatron was already on Earth by the time you were aware of Sandstorm. Besides, temperamental Galvatron would be more suited for someone like Sixshot. Can you imagine the look on Megatron's faceplate if he could have been told he'd created an Autobot? What? I can detect Cyclonus' life force. Do you think the Quintessons did this? Shush. Sounds like it's deactivation time.
Quiet. What happened?
He's talking nuts and bolts. Let's scrap him.
Just wait a moment.
I think he's telling us to shut up. Blitzwing. I saw some Decepticon usurpers near the supply depot. Maybe they did this.
You know how he despises usurpers even more than he loathes the Autobots.
I suppose we should take him to the Autobot med bay.
That's the idea. We can catch the saboteurs later.
You don't think they're going to repair him so we can call the attack, do you?
We don't know who did it. We're going to find out, but we have an advantage.
How humiliating. Restored by an Autobot. Did you do this, Primary?
Yes, the Autobot hoist saved you.
Yes, I put you back together. You are fully functional. Hoist? Repairing me? What madness is this? Primary, stand aside.
There's no time to waste. Artemis is leading your Decepticons to victory.
She dares. Only I can lead them to victory. It is my destiny. Cyclonus, Blitzwing, take hoist. We cannot allow this Autobot to contaminate Char any further. Primary.
Yes, mighty Galvatron.
You have some explaining to do. I just hope Primary does not lose control of the situation. Did you make certain the Autobot repaired me correctly?
I wouldn't trust anyone since Hook and Scrapper seem to be unavailable.
The Decepticons will pay for their disloyalty. Primary, where's your weapon?
The Autobots confiscated it when I was looking for Blitzwing.
Knowing you, you must have threatened to destroy him with your bare hands if that old rust heap wouldn't repair me. You have my permission to do to him what you see fit.
So I would need your permission to knock the bolts out of him.
You were always an independent warrior. A lot more successful than the useless piles of scrap I have for followers. Blitzwing, I think your head will make a nice souvenir. Hook shies.
Galvatron, I thought Artemis was the object of her mission.
I will rip her to shreds. I will leave her a mangled carcass. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will leave her a mangled carcass. I will leave her a mangled carcass. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will leave her a mangled carcass. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her boots. I will use her head as a doorstop. I will decorate my chamber with her
I hadn't realized that Artemis would still be recognizable when you were through.
The Decepticons will beg for their miserable lives for supporting that arrogant usurper. Oh, really? Do you refuse to answer?
What were you talking about?
What do we have to gain from Artemis's deactivation?
Continued visitations with you.
Primary, why don't you assist Blitzwing? Cyclonus, let us remind the Decepticons. There's only one true leader. Vector Sigma was chosen you for a reason.
Megatron cherished me for a reason.
The Autobots desperately need your help.
The Autobots are near defeat.
The need to fulfill my destiny is strong.
What can I do?
Improvise.
Primary.
Oh, Galvatron. He hasn't turned on us yet. I can't strike us all at once.
So the opportunity to deactivate you rises again.
You're scrap iron now. Yeah, go ahead, reject.
I'm relieved to see that you still function. So am I.
You two gonna kiss and make up?
Mighty Galvatron, I lost sight of you when the firing line collapsed. Then our work here is not finished. Beg, you coward, beg. At last I have your head for a doorstop. Mighty One, he's a distraction. Artemis got away, as did Primary. Predacons, now that you're back on our side, your talents are required. Too bad we don't have those annoying Insecticons to chew through everything. We do have something comparable. Predacons. The sound of ripping metal is music to my audio modules. Yeah. Compassion for lasers. Predacons, take Ultra Magnus with us.
This'll certainly make an interesting war story. Must remind you of something.
Nope, not even close. I've never seen the Decepticons so well organized. Or go so chaotically astray. They captured Ultra Magnus. They got him. Cyclonus, report. Scourge has pinpointed Primary's exact location.
Never mind that. Primary destroy them.
I only saw her fire on Artfire and Artemis. Blast you, Primary.
Mighty One.
She devastated my plans. Mighty Galvatron, please. She saved your life. There were times when I could have strangled her myself. But I would hate for anything to happen to her. I just wanted to punish the miserable traitors myself. She didn't deactivate all the traitors. Yes, wonderful. I shall enjoy watching them grovel at my boots as they beg for their wretched lives. Mighty Galvatron, look. I, Twincast, thought you were coming back with us.
I sure hope you were all working on an acceptable excuse for Galvatron while we were rescuing me from my tomb of twisted metal.
I, Twincast, wish you to come with us.
I wasn't planning on it.
But Galvatron acts normal when you're with us.
Although I'm extremely flattered, I must decline. Why don't you all get a head start back to Char Base, and I'll sort things out with Galvatron. Blitzwing, you look like you were struck by a space cruiser.
Oh, I feel like it.
You did good.
Good. Wasn't there a time when that word was not in your vocabulary? They took Ultra Magnus, but you spared me.
We weren't always Decepticons.
Let me take a look at your injury.
There are others worse off than me.
It looks restricted, but Ultra Magnus is lying right over there.
Yes, your Ultra Magnus is right over there. He looks a mess. I'm not a priority. We must rescue him.
You still function.
Barely. Dodging the green Decepticon, I found a small pocket to escape into.
I haven't felt this powerful since Unicron created me. I could finish these weak-willed Autobots myself. Could. We need to talk. Cyclonus, you need to transform and depart. But Mighty One, what about Ultra Magnus? Is there a malfunction in your audio receptors? No, Mighty Galvatron, but the traitors are right there. The millions of years we've been separated has had a repugnant effect on you.
A lot has happened in those past 4 million years.
Yes, indeed. Most of my minions have been consistent failures. Decepticons such as you and Cyclonus are rare. I have always worn your insignia with honor. The Quintessons, They'd promised me your special sniper program in exchange, if that's what they had truly desired. I would rather you remain functional.
That's kind of dumb, because wouldn't they just have a record of making that program when they built it?
Won't their faces decorate my chamber nicely?
Well, if it wasn't for the oil bath, your chamber would be considered rather dull.
I will not challenge you. I've always given you free rein anyhow.
Given, do you think you had such an option?
No, I have always trusted my best soldier. What a pity. My one robot army used to remind me of you before our separation. Yesterday he was acting like Octane. Don't make me come looking for you. Galvatron, it would be prudent to hand over Ultra Magnus. Now why would I do that? Me Grimlock will munch metal. Me slag Decepticon. Me sludge slag Decepticon too. I see, outnumbered or perhaps outclassed.
I'll go with him to make sure nothing happens.
I will only free him because he's your mate now. How thoughtful. What is your status? Ultra Magnus doesn't want any more repairs. You are still the same. You continue to astonish me.
I think Galvatron knows.
Oh, Galvatron knows about us. Slag. Galvatron wasn't very gentle about it.
I'm sorry.
For what? When we were trying to hide the fact that we were losing? If you hadn't come along?
I hope this means you forgive my tactics.
Yes.
I found Galvatron severely injured on the ship. Didn't know what happened. Thought it was a crash.
He kept saying shush, shush, shush. I was trying to convince Primary of this. That Galvatron had a blowout in what was left of his logic circuits. To remind her that he wasn't Megatron, I kicked him.
Ultra Magnus, we can't find Optimus.
What are his last known coordinates?
They got blurry after Galvatron joined the party.
I need all the available Autobots to conduct a full search. We must recover Prime and the Matrix. I need to get back out there. Well, yes, Ultra Magnus. You might be a little stiff after the new components are warmed up by your internal body temperature. Just do the bare minimum. If you don't mind me asking, how did you two meet? Ironically, Primary was trying to convince the Academy to expel Artemis. She kept banging on walls until finally one turned into a door.
Which was Ultra Magnus?
Unfortunately, Artemis had already completed the Academy by the time anyone had acknowledged her true intentions when acquiring education. I'm not quite through.
I had a vision of Alpha Trion. I said yes. And then I asked, but you were merged with Vector Sigma. How did you... And he replied, Vector Sigma was the one who summoned Primary from the far reaches of the universe. So you may succeed in today's battle.
But it was Galvatron who intervened.
After our last encounter, I imagine it was difficult to accept that stopping Artemis was my main priority once I learned of her goals.
Primary, did Galvatron destroy Artemis?
I don't know. It lacked finesse, but it got the job done. Artemis is an exceptional warrior, but I'm not able to deal with her.
But your shooting capabilities. Primary?
I became aware of this defect in my program long ago.
What defect?
The Quintessons had randomly selected this frame of military hardware and installed a new program to annihilate all rebellious slaves. I had no concept of right and wrong. I was just a machine. It wasn't until I attempted to gun down the leader of the rebellion that the new program began to fail.
You were the leader of the rebellion.
One of them, well, Alpha Trion with yours.
It's millions of years of gap. What does Artemis have to do with any of this?
As you know, Alpha Trion rebuilt some of us early on. I took the name Primary, because I was first, and Blitzwing was second. He's my brother.
What does this have to do with defeating Artemis?
Blitzwing was heavily damaged during a Decepticon mission, and I brought him to Alpha Trion shortly after he had been inspired to rebuild, not just repair the wounded. What has become the Decepticon symbol was originally the symbol for a crude Quintesson experiment, an experiment with transorganics. Alpha Trion wasn't created on an assembly line.
What are you talking about?
I was restless in your quarters, partly from being elated to find you functioning. Partly because of the Decepticon insignia, I began leafing through the computer files. I found out why Paradron no longer existed, and what Earth was like.
Get to the point.
Much like the Earth creatures, although it is a much longer process, I can reproduce.
What does this have to do with Galvatron defeating Artemis?
Megatron had many high-ranking soldiers, Shockwave, Starscream, Soundwave, and me.
With Primary, Megatron had recycled their bodies so fast you'd think they were infected with cosmic rust. It's through the importance of Megatron that Primary is able to have such a favorable influence on Galvatron. But Primary was like a prized energon cube to Megatron. It's through the importance of Megatron that Primary is able to have such a favorable influence with Galvatron.
Under the circumstances, I knew the best course of action for stopping Artemis was to take advantage of Galvatron's out-of-control hatred for usurpers.
Out of control everything.
I can't even explain why I headed for that specific ancient chamber, upon which I'd stumbled over something and received an incredible power surge when I fell against Vector Sigma, and then I awoke to Alpha Trion kneeling beside me.
I need to find Optimus Prime. I'm not sure you made the right decision to send Primary back to Charbase on our behalf. What choice have we? It isn't just Optimus Prime on the line here, it's the Matrix. I never thought I'd say this to you, but I hope your emotion chips aren't giving your logic chips hot flashes. The Skylynx is far off being in the injured list. The Decepticons destroyed the shuttles and Omega Supreme. I appreciate the reassurance, but our very existence is dependent on Primary finding the Matrix. Well, we received the signal password. She ought to go.
Well, I got my gun back and I'm on my way.
Just come back in one piece. I'll try.
Astrotrain is going to help me deliver Optimus Prime back to the Autobots.
It wasn't a mistake showing up on Char. You're one of the most powerful Decepticons.
Yeah, he's definitely here. Autobot fumes are strongly present on Char, and I've got an excellent guess on who captured him.
The last few days have been quite a strain on my circuit. We look further into this? No, Scourge. Unless you wish to be tortured further, you may go. Yes, this form of punishment is humiliating. It's supposed to be. Primary still needs to punish you for what you did to her at the refueling station. Thanks for reminding her.
I told the Autobots I'd get Optimus Prime back and not to worry.
Primary? I thought we agreed to avoid one another.
Did we?
Never mind that. Get your Autobot tainted chassis out of my chambers.
You're in a foul mood.
You deceived me. You told me she was dead.
At the time, I truly believed she was.
Then why didn't you burn your fuel with mine? Did I disappoint you? Is that why you no longer have your insignia? Galvatron. How did I disappoint you?
That day Megatron left Cybertron. That day we were going to burn our fuel together.
Conquest, Primary. You've always understood.
Yeah, I still do.
And why have you turned down my second proposal?
Because I discovered someone else. Someone who reminded me of Ultra Magnus before I learned of his survival. And I couldn't betray Ultra Magnus.
Who is this someone? I will make him regret double-crossing me. You act like you never had love. Now you want him to go without. That doesn't excuse you from saving me, just so you could rescue Ultra Magnus.
This is war. Ultra Magnus' survival was irrelevant. I didn't save you for his sake. My primary objective was to put an end to the war, even if that means the Autobots' survival.
The Autobots? You used to be ruthless and unmerciful. The Autobots, they wouldn't even fight when they learned you were leading the attack. You used to make them run for you.
Yes, well, that was a long time ago.
The way you proved you weren't an Autobot spy by dramatically reducing the size of Elita One's army with Megatron as your weapon, priceless. How many escaped?
Apparently 2 hand units worth.
And now you're rescuing them? What madness is this?
What about not destroying Ultra Magnus? That seems a trifle mad.
Once again, you have risen above the weak-willed fools I have for followers. If you haven't been on Char at the time... Wait, what are you doing on Char?
Your people still have something I need.
Do us all a favor. Deactivate the miserable double dealer you're going to meet with.
And do I get something in return?
I still wear your symbol with honor.
Too bad you don't transform into a handgun anymore.
It would be like old times.
Where do we go from here? What are you watching? Shush. I know what you're here for. Ah, Artfire, I see you made it home okay. Spare me the sarcasm. So, what am I here for? Something you don't want Galvatron to discover. Something, or should I say someone, I was planning to use to negotiate with Galvatron. But you would make a much better trade. Trade? I'm not an Energon Q, Artfire. I know, that's why you make such a desirable bargaining tool. You're much more precious than, say, Ultra Magnus's head. I rank higher than that. You think I don't know that? You know, Artfire, I can have a chat with Galvatron and have her removed from the disloyalty discipline roster. Now where would the profits be made on that? Why am I wasting my precious energy talking to you? Then there must be some explanation, other than a spontaneous magnetic field, which caused you and a certain someone to, shall we say, experiment? You have quite an imagination. Do I? I'm sure Galvatron would like to know about that particular event. The event? I need to examine the merchandise before I discuss anything further. I knew you would protect Cyclonus.
I originally did not think you were worthy of my attention. Perhaps my decision was hasty?
Well, if you're going to do the job, do it right. I really wasn't going to say anything about you two kissing. As I see it, Artfire, you have two options. Your options are either be terminated or leave Char forever. But you need me. I'm part of the team. Effective immediately. And Artfire, don't make me regret it.
I'm already regretting it.
You're starting to sound like Scourge.
That is uncalled for.
Calling you Scourge.
Letting her live.
I decided that those two options were silly, since it's in our nature as Decepticons to stab each other in the back.
My day just keeps improving.
Mighty One, you returned. It's good to see you as well. The Constructicons in their base.
I believe so. I wonder if there's a way to extract information from a dead Quintesson.
Artfire's back there cowering, sir. We didn't get what we wanted.
The power boost you gave me is not quite the same.
I've never seen Galvatron in such a mood.
Let alone a good one.
What did you say to him?
You know me. He likes talking about my service to Megatron.
It is different.
Things have been different between us since I was burning my fuel at my old chamber's ruins.
Yes, the mission. What type of auto-defense do you think Artfire has wired into it?
That isn't the one that concerns me. I think Artfire forgot to update her equipment.
What? What, you mean you're in?
I told you she needed to update her equipment.
What do you suggest? Oh.
Are you alright?
I'm fine. Just humiliated is all.
You really are like Ultra Magnus.
I'm okay too. I wasn't aware of the full extent of her greed.
Artfire couldn't possibly have carried Optimus Prime here on her own.
But were the other collaborators in this grand scheme of Artfires, or were they hired help? I am certain you'll be able to answer that primarily, since you do socialize with the lower-ranking Decepticons. It looks like you found your prize.
Get Astro Train to help us. We gotta get out of here before Galvatron changes his mind. I must admit you were in better condition than I was expecting you to be.
You're helping me. You're Megatron's mistress.
I was. A lot has changed in 4 million years.
Galvatron.
I don't know where he went, but in case you haven't noticed, Galvatron isn't firing on all 18 cylinders. The force field is down. You can come out. I am relieved to see you.
Why?
Scourge, you should know by now that I don't waste energy on petty squabbles. What you did to me is a natural part of Decepticon society, which I have long since been accustomed. What are you doing here?
Cyclonus wanted me to bring you some energon. Already loaded it onto Astro Train.
Blitzwing will be pleased.
What did you do to Galvatron?
Is there something wrong with him?
Yes or no, he's not screaming or bashing any of us. He's right.
See, I told you I'd get him to leave you all alone.
Our scientific calculations estimated a 22.91% probability the Decepticon matrix could exist after all these centuries. That ratio just increased by 77.09%. 100%. We have the first Decepticon ever created in our possession. Fascinating. What of her assassination program?
Still functioning, sir.
Operable. What? Operable. Fascinating. It was to be deactivated before she was assigned to the assembly line duties. An oversight, Commander. The reproduction of slaves proved to be too time-consuming. Vector Sigma proved to be a highly efficient and highly profitable invention. I shall go ahead and correct the oversight. No, we have 2 specimens readily available to test her out with. We can discover how her function is activated.
Agreed, Commander.
We can also experiment how the 2 matrices react to one another. Dissecting a completely formed offspring and studying it will also further the Quintesson race. Data analysis. Out of the 8 different attempts to have slaves reproduce, this was the only program that achieved success. Multiply by 4, excluding those we removed from her cavity before formation was complete. 4. Primary contributed to A3's creation? Do you realize what we have discovered? Primary was one of the 2 responsible for infecting the others. Primary's creation was our undoing. Take a sample to test her evolution. We will test it for evolution purposes. Finding one of our original slave models in operational status was unexpected. Commander? Commander? Yes, the Transformers have evolved their own culture. It's their sacred ritual of permanently obliging oneself to another, disgustingly sentimental. And the other 3 creations, are they operational? Data shows one was recently reactivated while another was deactivated. What are the denominations of the 3 existing creations? Autobots. Disgusting. Most foul. More to keep us from our rightful home. Megatron removed from her program. Ultra Magnus introduced to her program. When Primary should have defaulted back to her initial program, she rewrote it. Our creations continue to defy us. Soon all of the Transformers will be deactivated. We will send her to Autobot City, where she's already established and gained their trust, only to turn on them. Be careful when removing her mental processor. I plan to use that for further study. You will pay for your deceit. Begging for your lies will only bring me more pleasure. Your heads will look pretty mounted on my wall. Galvatron, we have not deceived you. Not bad for not firing on all cylinders.
Can you 2 get up?
We can't move. The Quintessons did something to our mobility factors.
It appears we are future scrap metal.
Astro Train and Artemis. Primary is one of my favorite commanders, but you are too.
The Quintessons used some kind of holographic trickery to make it look like I got the drop on you, but I didn't.
Why should I believe you two, not destroy you where you stand?
Astro Train, do you remember the time I met the Predacons back on Char?
Yes, Commander.
Then don't bring up the Quintessons again.
Yes. I'm gonna have to do something I might later regret.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Allow the Autobots to come rescue you, and Optimus Prime.
It must be the most difficult decision you ever made, Galvatron.
It's only because of my close proximity to the Decepticon Matrix and you. Once you're out of my hair, that won't happen.
Love you too, but in a motherly way.
Let's not bring that up again. This place is a mess. What do we do with the Quints, my lord? We'll have Splice dissect them and find out what they were talking about.
It's been real, but I should be going.
What makes you think I'm going to let you go after trying to kill us all?
Well, if I was really a full Decepticon, that'd be in my nature.
Understood, Neutral, but only because she's your mother.
What? That's not true. I'm afraid it is. Well then, who's my father? Well, I don't want to explain it because it would make it too much of a soap opera.
What an obscure mission. Title drop. I'll be going now.
Thank you for everything.
Don't be a stranger. Can I call upon you if Galvatron needs some calming down? You do have such a way with him. Many.
I wonder what happened to Blitzwing.
The Neutrals and I are going to head up a construction mission on Earth.
I've forgotten about his architectural talent. He apparently is going to go help fix a city we destroyed during a battle. Blitzwing really used architecture to his advantage when you were just a pod.
Ultra Magnus will go to a different meeting, some very important humans, to discuss the latest Decepticon attack. Yes, second-in-command stuff. You look extra glossy today.
Thank you. I've been applying extra effort to my appearance. I saw you talking to Ultra Magnus the other morning. Why didn't you tell me?
Tell you what?
He's my father, isn't he? That's what the Quintessons were after. I would have preferred to tell you under better circumstances, but everything's been so chaotic.
I know.
I only found out that Ultra Magnus had survived about a year ago. And that wasn't under the best circumstances, either. Ever since I had joined up with the Autobots, Ultra Magnus' personality fit exactly how you described my creator. Many times I wanted to ask him, but I didn't want to disappoint myself or dishonor the memory of my creator if I was mistaken. You have always understood my reason for disclosing such private information, not just because we may be singled out due to our uniqueness, but also for the sake of our not hindering our obligations for others. If anything, my association with the Decepticons was deeper woven than I'd led anyone to believe. I shouldn't even be here right now.
Well, that's where you're wrong. It was a battle unlike Cup or anyone else had ever experienced. But you solely are the one to thank, Primary. You turned the tide just as we were about to be annihilated. You returned Optimus Prime to us alive. You even blessed me with this fine soldier.
Not bad for a cheesy Mary Sue character.
I've been wanting to do this since our meeting back on Cybertron.
It has been well worth the wait.
I would like to properly introduce you to Optimus Prime.
It is sad the war wasn't restricted to Cybertron.
Yes, it is regrettable.
I wasn't expecting the reception you gave me.
Yes, I think that was a surprise.
I was going to find out what Blitzwing's plans were and leave.
Leave? I thought we would finally take this opportunity of peace to spend some time together, to get reacquainted.
I would like that.
That is, if your acquaintance Galvatron isn't going to interrupt.
Galvatron? He's preoccupied with his new hobby of decorating his throne room.
I was worried that Galvatron let those Quintessons at you.
Worried? I had everything under control.
But you were immobilized on the ground. I am relieved that your overconfidence did not result in poor judgment.
Overconfidence? I've been lacking it since I learned of your survival.
You lacking confidence? That seems so uncharacteristic of you.
I guess I've always come off a bit strong-willed.
Since the day we met. Not that I was expecting any of what I had seen and heard these past few days.
It was quite unfair of me to introduce my past to you in such an abrupt manner. There have been so many things that I've been ashamed to tell you about. Things that I have attempted on several occasions that you would have found out eventually if Militaria hadn't been slagged.
You repeatedly demonstrated that it's all in the past.
Yes, there is hope.
Optimus, you've been standing there a while. The robot that stands before me and the robot that committed those crimes while serving Megatron are not the same. Your past has directly affected us all. Every bit of your past has happened for a reason. If you and Megatron had not created Artie, and it hadn't led to you reconsidering your role in the Decepticon army, there might not have been any Autobots surviving today.
But how? You've been understandably keeping me at arm's length, I thought.
You thought we wouldn't like you anymore.
Well, yeah, but I guess you do.
The last few days you've given me some overwhelming information to consider. The last few days you've done nothing but demonstrate what it is to be an Autobot. An Autobot? An Autobot on a Decepticon's throne.
That probably looked odd to you. Cyclonus was supposed to warn me.
Perhaps he had an ulterior motive. Maybe he had eyes for you.
Yes, but that would be weird because I'm all of the Decepticons' mother, essentially.
He couldn't take you on anyway. But it's good to have you back. It's good to be home, Ultra Magnus. An analysis of what the Quintessons did indicates that they did not create Alpha Trion.
That was all Vector Sigma's plan, but I'm not the Artie Prime was talking about. No, he was referring to me, half-sister.
I just came back. What's going on? I don't understand. The wisdom of the Autobot Matrix has spoken to me. Wait a minute. What did it say?
Well, I can imagine the Decepticon Matrix didn't call, because I no longer have it.
In a past life, she passed it to a new leader, Alpha Trion. Now Tryon passed it to you, Prime? No. No one knows where the Matrix ended up. The Autobot Matrix was built new. Which means it is lost to time.
Wouldn't a Decepticon Matrix spew the opposite of wisdom, foolishness?
Yes, conceivably, sort of. It's complicated.
I had to come, because I've had this weird feeling ever since I left the prison planet and the exile planet.
Primary. When I analyzed you, the age of your spark was determined to be very ancient. You have many lives.
She's the queen mother of all Decepticons. That's what the Quintessons were after.
Primary, the Quintessons feared you. Because after you lost that Matrix, Alpha Tryon fashioned a new one. And all Primes would carry your name. Primary is Solus Prime? Yes, that is one of her names, after she left the Decepticons in that lifetime. But she's completely new. She's not Solus Prime. That was millions of years ago.
I was, and I am. That little trinket Springer found, and I put in my chest. It's glowing.
Why would you do something so foolish?
You mean our daughter is the Matrix Bearer?
It would appear so, but I don't think that's what happened when the Quintessons made a hologram of her to try and kill Galvatron. Well, it don't make sense, because there were two of me in the chamber. That one shot Galvatron. Seems the Decepticon Matrix projected your need for revenge into a manifestation. Well, and I ought to be thrown in the brig, Prime. Well, if she can't control that thing yet, she's not in control of her faculties. Well, everything worked out in the end. The Quintessons were defeated, and he's not dead.
Still, we must be cautious of its power and learn how to use it properly.
If it is the Decepticon Matrix, it cannot be reasoned with, Prime. Yeah, it makes me see ghosts from other dimensions, like Starscream. But not on this mission, oddly enough.
Decepticon personalities in their Matrix? Interesting. Well, we're back together. When the Quintessons come back, we'll be ready for them. Together. It is a pleasure to meet you officially. Artemis Prime.
Yeah, I bet you thought I was related to Draconus Prime, did you?
No, not really. He was Turbo originally. A GoBot.
Then we are kinsmen, brothers. One time I was Tracker. Enough. Make it end already.
Dun, 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 dun.